All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Winona State Football Players Association podcast. We've had a little break here after the season. Today, I'm very thankful to be joined by head football coach at Winona State, Brian Bergstrom. Brian, welcome back to the show, and thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Colin. It's great.
So we're starting spring ball here in a few short days now. Spring break starts next week for the guys on campus. And I really just wanted to spend a few minutes to get kind of an update on a lot of changes that have happened here in the last few months with the program. And let's start with staff. I know we've had conversations about this personally, but you've got some changes, especially on the offensive side of the ball with your staff. We've got two new coaches on the roster, if you will, a new offensive coordinator and a quarterback coach. Why don't you kind of walk us through that process and tell us why you're so excited about these two new additions?
Yeah, you bet. Well, I think even before we get there, I think you look at Winona State over the years and just look at in Coach Sawyer's times, specifically the most recent history, and you look at the coaching tree that's come out of Winona State and really the amazing places where people are coaching right now. Just David Braun at Northwestern and AJ Blazek now at Wisconsin and Entz at USC. I mean, we're talking an amazing line coming out of Winona, and that's some of the big ones. I mean, even in my short time here, coaches have gone on to, like Coach Frichte and Coach Olson, to the FCS level at UND. We have coach at Mercer and a coach at Delaware and a coach at NDSU. And my point is it's not that you want everybody to get here and leave. You want to invest in them while they're here, give them opportunities to grow in their career. And if they get an opportunity that is better for them and their family, then we did our job. And you hope and pray that you're able to keep the right continuity, and you obviously don't want people leaving after a few months or anything like that. But as hard as it is personally to see friends go, you're totally excited for them. And what it does is it gives you an opportunity to grow. It gives you an opportunity for new blood to come into the program and be kind of assimilated into our culture, but bring their own identity and bring their own flavor in. And we've been able to hire two coaches, both here on campus now this week. Coach Charlie Cosgrove is our offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. Unique story there. I coached Charlie when he was at St. Cloud State as a player, and I was a graduate assistant. And so I've known him since the early 2000s, and we've stayed in touch. And he spent the last 14 years as the offensive coordinator, O-line coach at Gustavus, which is where I went. So the world kind of comes full circle sometimes, but an amazing teacher, motivator, very bright, and runs a system that's very similar to what we have done here. And our quarterback coach that we hired, also coming from the MIAC, the Division III league in Minnesota, actually the top two teams in that league. They played in the championship, Gustavus against Bethel. AJ Parnell, the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach from Bethel University, who was in the Division III playoffs this last year in a traditional powerhouse, is our quarterback coach. And they joined Coach Curtin, who's our special teams coordinator and receivers coach, and Coach Bailey, tight ends and fullbacks. And they've been at it long hours in our meeting room this week, getting a plan together and meeting with our players. And I've just been so impressed, not surprised, but impressed with how quickly our players and our team has connected with them and vice versa. They're incredibly relational, and excited for spring ball here in a couple weeks with them.
Well, I never thought I'd see the day where a defensive end, an All-American defensive end, is calling the offense at Winona State. And as a former defensive lineman, it excites me to see Coach Cosgrove, who's a guy that played when I was around and was a really standout defensive player up at St. Cloud State. And so do you think with that, knowing that, what do you think will be maybe different or unique about the offense from the offense we've seen on the field the last couple of years? Or will it be maybe more of the same, but just a different person wearing the hat, if you will?
I think it'll be a combination of both. I mean, I think whenever you have someone that is a lineman, whether it's O lineman or D line, I think you always find that the roots are in the ability to be physical and run the football. And I'm not saying that hasn't been that way, but it will be even more of an emphasis as everything starts there, because that's how he sees things. And he played D line, but really immediately when he started his career, started as an O line coach. So I mean, he understands both sides of the ball. The thing that I love about him coaching offense is he brings and I'm a defensive guy, but at my core as well, he brings a defensive line mentality to the offensive line. And I think it worked incredibly well for him throughout his career. And from the outside looking in, you're going to see a lot of the same from our offense in terms of the types of things that we're doing, 11 and 12 personnel, and the ability to utilize certainly RPO and quarterback run and drop back pass, quick game. There's going to be a lot of similarities. I think our players already know that some of the terminology may be a little bit different, but they're able to pair it together with what they're doing. And ultimately, we just got to keep growing. Our team is much more than our coaches. Our team is our guys, and we got to continue to grow just like we would have if there were no staff changes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's exciting to see Trevor and Isaac move on as well up to North Dakota. To your point, I'm super happy for them. They became friends of mine as well, and I'm excited for their journey. And we'll certainly be cheering for the Sioux up there as we watch them play. Or no, they're not the Sioux anymore. We just call them North Dakota now, right?
Fighting Hawks.
Fighting Hawks. There we go. But so thank you to those two for all they did and invested in our program and in the kids. And we wish them the best of luck from the FPA. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for all you guys did. If you get a chance to see this, well, hey, let's move in, Brian. Let's talk about recruiting. And I want to start this conversation by maybe talking about the changes that are happening in the landscape of college athletics in general, not just football. But maybe from your perspective, how has the transfer portal, the NIL world affected or changed your process, maybe specifically at Winona State, to how and when and what we do to recruit a student athlete to come to Winona State?
Yeah, it's certainly a changing times. And I think you see the biggest change at the highest level. So the Division I game has been impacted the most by both the transfer portal, I believe, and name, image, and likeness. And I think if used properly, both can be positive things for the student athlete and for the game of football. I think what college football is trying to figure out is the sweet spot of some freedom, but then some regulation. It went from very restrictive, both in being able to transfer and make any money beyond their scholarship and cost of attendance. And I think the pendulum has swung all the way to the other side, where there is very little restriction in transferring and how much you could make without much return on that commitment. Like, meaning a lot of what they're battling at the highest level is these insane numbers in the name, image, and likeness money that they're able to make, but then they're able to leave right after the season because they're transferring and there's nothing. It's not like a contract in professional football where they're locked in for a certain number of years. So I think that's what they're battling. And but it can be name, image, and likeness can be a really good thing. Winona State Athletics actually partners with a company called Mogul, who is our go-between and helps our players make some money off of their name, image, and likeness, whether that's with a local business, whether that's something online, whether it's something social media. By rule, we can't be involved as coaches, kind of being the go-between, but the Mogul company can. And so what you're seeing at Division II is just, it's much smaller number than the dollars. There's a lot less zeros at the end of it, yeah. But it can still be a good thing. And I think the transfer portal more than the level is the type of culture at the school. We're going to be a program that wants to build, 80 to 90% of our signing classes off of the high school student athlete. And I think that gives you an opportunity to have somebody here for 4 or 5 years and truly grow them into your culture and be you, but align with us type of a mentality. We need our guys to be themselves, but align with who we stand for, how we think, how we do, and more time allows that. And we've been fortunate, I think, for a long time here with Coach Sawyer, and certainly the last 2 years of what I know. Last year, we only had one student athlete go into the transfer portal. This year, we had 3 go into the transfer portal, and we got about the same back. We got, we had 2 transfers at Christmas time. We'll probably take a couple more after spring football. So it kind of equals out. It's natural. It's kind of how it's always been. But I think you see some programs that I'd be concerned if you see, 10, 15, 20 guys after the season going into the transfer portal. To me, that's saying something about the place and the people. And I think one thing we can all agree on, if anything about our program, is that the people are the number one asset to what we do. And we're really blessed by that. So I think the portal can be good for kids getting a new opportunity. We're fortunate where we're at a place where not a lot of people want to leave.
Yeah, I think that it's so critical to build that long-term culture too, right? These are the student athletes that are going to want to probably continue to be involved with an organization like the FPA once they graduate and leave. They love the place, and our kids typically don't leave, which is really neat. And it reminds me of a story. I was sitting with Coach Sawyer at a game this fall against one of our big rivals in the league. I'll leave the name undisclosed, but I'm looking at the program, looking at the roster, and I admittedly, I don't think Tom had really looked at the program or the roster, right? And we were just talking ball and talking about life, and I'm going through this roster, and I'm like, hey, that kid's a transfer from so-and-so. That kid was as they were making plays on the field. It was 90% of their roster were first-year kids on campus there that had transferred from another school. And to me, even watching that other program play, it's like, well, that's a weird culture that's hard to sort of justify and figure out, because that never was a thing until recently, in the last couple of years. So I think it's an amazing testament to what you guys are doing as coaches, as a university, what programs like the FPA are doing to make those kids sticky and stick around on campus. And it will breed long-term success when we get the opportunity to keep them on campus for 4, 5, maybe 6 years if you're a guy like me. So appreciate all you guys do there. Well, let's maybe spend a few minutes here before we close. Why don't we talk about the recruiting class? I know you're super excited about the group of kids you brought in. Maybe just spend a few minutes talking big picture about what you see in that recruiting class and maybe some big shoes that are being filled with it.
Yeah. So recruiting to us, and I've said this many times, and we actually have a junior day today, so focusing on the 2025s, and I'm going to share the same message with the parents that recruiting is not about us trying to coerce or sell you something you don't want. It's about investing in you and building a relationship. And then we want guys that really believe in who we are and believe in their ability to work into what we do, and us to fill a need for them and be a good fit both ways, to pick us and wake up one morning and say, you know what, I believe in Winona State. I believe in that team, those players I met, the people on campus, their tradition, their support, their staff. And I'm picking there. And that's what we got out of this class, is 28 guys that we truly feel like each of the 3 recruiting classes has gotten better and better and better in quality and depth. And that's not a knock against the previous classes. That's just about growing and getting better. And it's our job to bring in classes that are better than our team and to take their jobs, so to speak. And it's the guys that are in the locker room to not let that happen. And that competition breeds, like you said, long-term success, especially when you have a culture where people want to be there and not leave. And So 28 guys in this class. Now, unique, 3 of them, I count them in our class, 3 of them are here already. 2 are transfers, both from North Dakota State, and then 1 high school early enrollee, which is unique at Division II. He had the opportunity to graduate at Christmas, and he's here now. So in this summer, 25 more guys will be added to kind of the new guys, so to speak. And but the class as a whole is 15 on offense, 12 on defense, and 1 specialist. And where they're coming from, not that that's the most important thing, but we do have a philosophy in starting at home in recruiting. And we had 11 Minnesota guys, 9 Wisconsin, 7 Illinois, and 1 from Arizona. And that makes up the class in total. And what I'm so impressed with is these guys, because we check a lot of boxes, making sure they're not just good at football, but their passion for football is there. You can tell they're great teammates by talking to them, by talking to their teammates, talking to their coaches. Bold leadership in this group, a ton of captains, a ton of guys that are willing to step out in front and be lonely sometimes as a leader. And this class, you can just sense it. In a lot of ways, you got to recruit this. It's hard to teach sometimes, as they have a passion to grow, and they have a humble, hungry attitude where they want to grow. And on top of that, the average or the cumulative GPA for the class on average is a 3.4. So they're great students as well. So that doesn't mean they're perfect. Doesn't mean they don't have a long way to go. They certainly do. But that's our job as coaches and our current team to bring them along. And with the new rules now at Division II, you can play in your first year and maintain your red shirt as long as you don't play more than 3 games. So that's another added incentive to get guys ready to go because they can play but keep the 4th year. So if they want to go to school for 6 years like you, Colin, then they can.
And I don't have a PhD. So my GPA is around that 3.4 number, maybe a little less, but yeah.
Around.
Anyway, moving on.
Relative term.
Well, that's awesome. I'm excited to get to meet a lot of those guys and see what kind of teammates and community members they're going to be. And I'm sure that trend will continue with just great kids from top to bottom. Like we've always had at Winona State. I think that tradition continues from the way Tom Sawyer recruited with his staff. Mm-hmm. Is bringing in high quality, high character kids that also happen to be good at football. And that was kind of the last thing they actually looked at, I think. And I think I hear that from you too. So I'm excited to see that continue and excited to see the product on the field this spring and again in the fall.
You bet. And
spring ball starting.
A bunch of those guys, Colin, will be at the spring game too, the incoming freshmen. So chance to meet a lot of those guys.
Perfect. Cool. And that game is April 20th, correct?
April 20th, 1:00. Do a game day experience from 11 to 1. And it will be a scrimmage style offense against defense scoring system. Mm-hmm. But pretty much all team reps. It's another practice for us. That's my coach speak. It's practice 15 for us. We got to keep getting better, but it'll be mostly team scrimmage reps and a scoring system and a fun way to end spring football. And kind of a cool thing about spring ball that's a little bit different this year is Division II. You can have an exhibition game or a combined practice with another team. So on the 13th, the weekend before the spring game, Upper Iowa is going to come to Maxwell Field and we're going to have a joint practice. That will look much more like practice, but we get to go against somebody else. And the following year we'll go down there. So you could make it like an exhibition game or not. We're making it more like a practice, but we'll be an opportunity to go against another color. So that's good.
Awesome. I didn't know that. That'll be fun to watch. And hopefully that continues to evolve into something more and more meaningful to develop the kids. Also coming, hopefully after spring game, we'll have an announcement coming out from the FPA, but we're going to do an alumni social immediately after the game in town somewhere. So look for that. And parents and all alumni are invited to that, and we'll make sure that invite goes out here shortly. And then lastly, I'd be remiss not to say that we also have another event coming up before the fall season begins. Golf tournament is on August 2nd. And usually right around the end of spring ball, that stuff starts getting blasted out. Coach Curtin will be handling that again this year. And so look for updates from that, guys. Brian, is there anything you want to add on the golf tournament this year? Anything you want to do different?
We're trying to keep it consistent with the first Friday of August, so people can plan. We were able to do that again, and we've just secured the golf course, Cedar Valley again, and a great local course in the area that supports Winona State, and we're excited to support them through FPA and football, and have another great event out there. But love to see as many of you as possible at the event. And if you can't make it there, then the spring game, or we have 6 home games next year. We'll have a night game next year, our first Thursday night game against Saginaw Valley, and then we'll have 5 conference home games. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate all you do for Winona State, for the kids, the student athletes, and for the community of Winona. You truly are an amazing guy, and I know you've had a crazy couple of weeks, so hopefully you get a few hours to sleep here this weekend and come back ready to charge into spring ball. Anything you want to leave as closing remarks for the Football Players Association or anybody watching today?
Well, I just want you guys to know 2 things. One, I think uncommunicated gratefulness can come across as not being grateful. So I want you to know how much I and our staff and our staff's families and our team and our team's families appreciate each and every one of you. And whether that's from afar and you can never make it to a game, or you're at every game, just the fact that you're thinking about us and checking our scores and praying for us, like that means a ton to us. And if you can be involved and help out in any way, just know that it's appreciated. And we let our players know that. We let them know where it's coming from in hopes that they will give back someday. And know that we're grateful, and know that we're working our butt off to do everything that we can to get better every single day. And I know it can be a boring answer someday, but what's our goal in spring? Our goal in spring is the same as it's been in the winter workouts. It's to get better every day. And when you do that and you build a culture of people that work hard, they have talent, they care about each other, and you have consistency, you can win a lot of games for a long time. And that's what we're in this for. We're in this to, win a lot of games, but impact lives as we're doing it. And we're pretty much spending every waking minute we got trying to do that for our kids and for you guys, and make you proud. So appreciate your support.
Thank you for that, Brian. If you're interested in getting more involved with your time or your treasure, go to winonastatefootball.org. That's the FPA's website. There's a link there. Feel free to shoot us an email. We'd love to have you. And there'll be a link in the next slide below as well. Coach, thank you for joining us. Have a great spring. Go get them. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Colin.